From the marble halls of power to the hard scrabbled streets throughout America, I'm Tom Lobianco. Welcome back, friends. Today on this show, we're doing something I've been thinking about for quite a long time. I call this the memory hole. Your veritable galaxy brain catching up on all the most important news, things which rattled your life days ago, weeks ago, perhaps even months ago, and still matter. Not the ephemera, only the things that matter. If you're watching here live today on Substack and YouTube, we are not taking comments. Producer Ian is out with his family, taking care of baby number 5. Very excited for them. If you have comments, you can email me at tom@24site.news. You can also reply to the email 24site.news. You can also drop in your comments on Substack. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I know I did. It's good and healthy to unplug when we can, certainly in times like these. Remember, folks, this is a marathon, okay? And we only get through this together. I'm so happy you're here with me. Before we hop on to the heavy stuff today, let's in case you missed it, let's take a look at the cold open from Saturday Night Live today, this past weekend. Outstanding. That was great. All right, guys. Just a reminder, reach out at tom@24site.news. Catch us live every day. And also make sure to catch us on the Encore at Political Voices Network every day at 8 p.m. We're catching up on big news, which sometimes gets lost in the ephemera. The BS of the online tweet meme junk coming out of the White House these days, coming from other areas. So first up, let's check in on somebody who really became a banner for what is happening in this country, how the White House, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement is going at trying to violently, unlawfully, unconstitutionally remove folks, many of whom are here not only legally, but apparently in some cases citizens detained wrongfully in this violence. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, haven't heard from him in a while. For that, we're going to let's take a look at my hometown paper, Maryland Matters. Over at Maryland Matters, we have news. Court allows Abrego Garcia's claim of vindictive prosecution to proceed. A federal district judge said Kilmar Abrego Garcia can proceed with his claim that human smuggling charges filed against him in Tennessee were done in retaliation for successfully challenging his deportation in another court and should be dismissed. U.S. District Judge Waverly D. Crenshaw Jr. of the Middle District of Tennessee ruled Friday that Abrego Garcia had shown a reasonable likelihood of vindictiveness in the filing of the human smuggling charges. Those charges were filed this summer, more than 2 years after the traffic stop they were based on, and just days after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled against the Trump administration in Abrego Garcia's deportation. Abrego Garcia said the Tennessee charges were only filed to punish him for exercising his right to challenge his deportation in court, pointing to statements by Trump administration officials that, quote, celebrated the criminal charges against him. These included posts from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, calling him a gang member and human trafficker. Attorney General Pam Bondi's statement that Abrego would be found guilty and sentenced and returned to his home country of El Salvador. And this, now, folks, I want to point to this one right here. This is the big one from Todd Blanche. Now, if you're not a Trump world person, you haven't been following this closely. Todd Blanche will be making a guest appearance in our next news segment just a minute from now. He is a long-time Trump world lawyer, famous for being Paul Manafort's lawyer. His comments, his posture, are the ones that really grabbed the judge. Take a look at this. While the many statements made by the executive office official defendants about Abrego raised cause for concern, one stands out among the rest, Crenshaw wrote in his 16-page ruling, citing televised remarks by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the Justice Department official overseeing the acting U.S. attorney in Tennessee. Crenshaw wrote that Blanche told the public on television on the day of Abrego's arrest that the government started, quote, investigating Abrego after a judge in Maryland questioned the government's decision to deport Abrego, found that it had, quote, no right to deport him, and accused the government of doing something wrong. Deputy Attorney General Blanche's statements could directly establish that the motivations for Abrego's criminal charges stem from his exercise of his constitutional and statutory rights to bring suit against the executive official defendants, rather than a genuine desire to prosecute him for alleged criminal misconduct. It's hard to go after an alleged vengeful prosecution. This does not happen very often. We're keep it here, folks. We're going to be keeping our eyes on Abrego Garcia. A reminder, folks, that as we do this here, I'm going to start this as a new theme here. Tom LoBianco reports. I do this, and we did a little bit of this on Friday, and I'm doing it here today to keep us grounded. All right, so folks, if you're just joining us here live on Substack or on YouTube, or if you're with us on the Encore at 8 p.m. on Political Voices Network, today's show is an update on major news stories which have racked the country and may have even upended your lives days ago, weeks ago, months ago, you name it, but seem to disappear. They get lost in the memes from the White House, the ephemera of the digital space, algorithms which fog our very reality. Something I do as a reporter, and if you came up through newspapers like I did, we would call this the nut graph, bringing the reader up to speed. What is the basic information that we need to know? So this is kind of a meta level nut graph. This is about bringing folks up to speed on the main stories which matter and staying grounded. A reminder that there is such a thing as reality. You can catch it here every day. And that we need to keep our feet on the ground. There are those out there purposely trying to confuse us and shroud things in misdirection, be they foreign or domestic. That's okay. That's always been the case. I'm used to it. I've been doing this for more than 2 decades now. Hell, some people might even call that politics. So what we're doing today is I'm going to start this as a regular feature, updating on key stories. All right. Important stories that we all are following. Not the BS stuff on social media. Things that matter. All right, next. Big news out of the Supreme Court on Ghislaine Maxwell. This from the BBC. U.S. Supreme Court rejects Ghislaine Maxwell appeal in Epstein case. Byline Donovan Slack. The U.S. Supreme Court rejected an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell against her sex trafficking conviction without providing an explanation. Interesting. Oscar Marcus told the BBC her team was deeply disappointed, but would continue exploring legal avenues to, quote, ensure that justice is done. Maxwell was convicted for her role in luring underage girls for her former boyfriend, Jeffrey Epstein, to exploit. Epstein died in prison in 2019. The Justice Department did not immediately comment on the rejection of Maxwell's appeal on Monday. I'm sure you guys remember who was the Justice Department lawyer who went to proffer a deal with Ghislaine Maxwell to move her to Club Fed not too long ago. Todd Blanche. And we'll have more on this tomorrow as it regards to the government shutdown. Yes, these two things are connected. I'll make sure to stop by tomorrow for that one. Back to the BBC. She was found guilty in 2021 of facilitating Epstein's abuse. Prosecutors said she recruited and groomed the girls, some as young as 14, between 1994 and 2004, before they were abused by Epstein, a New York financier. Maxwell's lawyers appealed the verdict, arguing she should never have been tried to convict her for her role in the scheme. As a number of, back to me here, also, folks, make sure to check out 24site.news. I'll be putting all these stories and a little bit of extra reporting in the follow-up email that goes out after the show every day. If you're a longtime viewer, as we enter, I believe this is week 6 now, and thank you guys for being here. Very happy to have you. If you're a longtime viewer, you probably recall about a month ago, I used to send out the emails beforehand. And that was kind of to set the show notes, kind of set what we'd be talking about. But I changed it up about a week or two ago to start sending out the show notes and the show itself afterward. And I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today as well. I'm going to be putting the reporting in the actual email with the show notes, but I'm putting it behind a paywall because I need folks to help support us, help support independent journalism. This is really important. This is how we don't become victims of censorship by the Trump White House, by threat, by bullying, you name it. If we band together, this is how we keep doing this. It's how we keep our feet grounded. All right. So if you haven't already, make sure to head over to the website, 24site.news. Sign up for that. We'll have a little bit more on Ghislaine Maxwell here in a second. Now we move to Chicago. This is CNN. Apologize, folks. Here, my ad blocker is working. Love you, CNN, but don't want the ads junking up my browser right now. Illinois and Chicago sued Trump administration over national deployment of National Guard. Byline Dakin and Doney updated just recently. The state of Illinois and Chicago on Monday sued the Trump administration over its move to deploy National Guard troops to Chicago as the White House targets Democrat-led cities amid weeks of protests against the federal government's immigration enforcement campaign. Quote, defendants' deployment of federalized troops to Illinois is patently unlawful, the lawsuit says. Plaintiffs asked the court to halt the illegal, dangerous, and unconstitutional federalization of members of the National Guard of the United States, including both the Illinois and Texas National Guard. The lawsuit comes 2 days after the White House announced President Donald Trump authorized 300 members of the Illinois National Guard to Chicago to, quote, protect federal officers and assets, reprising a strategy he first used against U.S. U.S. immigration and customs enforcement protest in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. The news was condemned by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on Sunday after learning the administration also planned to send 400 members of the Texas National Guard to Illinois and Oregon, among other places. Pritzker likened the move to an invasion. Let's hear from Pritzker. We got a clip for him here on Jake Tapper's Sunday show.
What's your response to Secretary Noem? And as a practical matter, since you oppose this troop deployment, Is there anything you can do?
Well, good morning, Jake. And let me just say that the secretary doesn't know what she's talking about. She frankly says that people are clapping. They're not. They're booing her on the street, and they're booing ICE and CBP. They're marching, the CBP marching on a beautiful Sunday in Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. They're raiding neighborhoods where instead of going after the bad guys, they're just picking up people who are brown and black and then checking their credentials. Are you a U.S. citizen? I don't know about you, but I don't carry around papers that say I'm a U.S. citizen. So you can imagine people are getting detained. They're getting arrested, U.S. citizens. And they did this, of course, when they raided a building in the middle of the night in South Shore. 130 people that were emptied out of this building. They were going after a few gang members, and instead they broke windows, they broke down doors, they ransacked the place, and there were people that were held, elderly people and children zip-tied. Elderly people held for 3 hours at a time. They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago. If they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do, they need to get the heck out.
So let's.
Again, that's Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on Jake Tapper's CNN State of the Union just yesterday. Really important to note this ongoing battle that's been happening there. And I'll drop this in the notes for the email that goes out after the show. Make sure to check out Migrant Insider by Pablo Manriquez, longtime friend. He is an excellent independent journalist. And him and his colleague Nico have been covering this since the beginning of the administration. There is a striking amount of violence happening right now in Chicago. It could be amplified. It's a tense time. There's no other way to put this. It's bad. But something, I try to keep things in perspective. And as I was out driving on Sunday, I was listening to NPR because I am a coastal. Also, I enjoy no advertising. I think that's something people forget very often about why we like NPR so much. A very good interview in On the Media with Jamil Bowie, longtime New York Times columnist, talking about his style of staying grounded in all of this, picking out what matters. All right. And also, being blunt in responding to Charlie Kirk beforehand, before his murder, and afterwards. And something that Bowie noted, which I think is an important context for all of us. Look, we have had a period of relative peace in this country for decades now. Now there's, it's not to say there haven't been major events like September 11th, that there haven't been major domestic events like Waco, but not sustained. And Jamil notes that that's really true for white folks. This is me paraphrasing here. If you're a black person in this country, you're used to this. It's not new. It's not the most violent time. I think that's important context as we go through this. I try to bring context to all this so that we can pick out what really matters: attacks on our free speech, weaponizing the federal government against political opponents, things which are truly extraordinary, appearing to place the military in action. All right. What is the difference between the president of the United States making bluster, saying he's going to use military, quote, against the enemies within, and then use our cities as, quote, training grounds, versus having the National Guard picking up trash and planting flowers in Washington, D.C.? This is the important part, guys. This is what I do here every day. A reminder, if you're watching us live, normally we'd do comments. We will be doing that later. Ian runs the boards. He is out today. He'll be back, and we will do live comments again. Only got two hands. Two hands, only so many, only so much I can do over here, guys. And thank you for being here. Make sure you sign up. You can always reply to me if you got something you'd like to see. If you're just joining us, this is, I call this the memory hole. It's not the place where we just completely forget about things because of the constant flood of information, but rather whole as in a return to the whole, bringing us back to speed, keeping us grounded. I've been thinking about this for a few years. I've been covering Trump for a decade now. And I think, if any of us who have done this would tell you that you kind of get used to it. It's like anything else. But you find ways of adapting. That's who we are. That's what makes us humans. And one of the things that I like to use to adapt to this is the nut graph. Staying on things, staying on the story, staying on the stories that matter. Let's play a little game. I have a question for you. Let's see if I can bring this up here. It used to be that political violence was so relatively abnormal that when it happened, when there were high-profile assassinations, shootings, you'd really have to go back to the 60s for this, we've remembered who did it. So let me ask you this. What's the name of the suspect in the Charlie Kirk shooting? How about the name of the suspect in the Dallas ICE facility shooting not too long ago? How about the name of the assassin of Democratic lawmaker in Minnesota, Melissa Hortman? These cases are ongoing. I bring this up rhetorically because these are big deals, not least of which is because the White House has made them big deals, has leaned in on them. So let's stay on it. Let's stay on it. Here's the latest on, let's go to Tyler Robinson. I'm sure, look, guys, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you knew that already. This is what happens when you raise an 8-year-old kid. You start talking and lecturing. I know you guys knew that already. Here's the latest on Tyler Robinson. Let's bring this back to the stage. There we go. Here, let's blow this up so it's a little bit easier to read. Tyler Robinson's it's NPR just recently. This is the most recent one I was able to find. Tyler Robinson's team, so this is about a week ago, Tyler Robinson's team requests time to review evidence in second court appearance. This is big. This is a big court case, guys. This is a really big court case. Byline Martha Harris, this played on All Things Considered. The defense for Tyler Robinson, the suspect in Charlie Kirk assassination, has asked for more time to review the evidence before deciding whether to seek a preliminary hearing. Here's Alyssa Chang. We are the public, indeed. And I love you guys. I do support NPR. Tyler Robinson had his second appearance in court today, this after he was taken into custody for shooting Charlie Kirk. Martha Harris with member station KUER was in the courtroom in Provo, Utah. And here we go. So it was a waiver hearing, and Robinson's defense team decided not to waive his right to a preliminary hearing, at least not right now. Prosecutors have a lot of evidence. Harris, NPR, yes, they do. We know there are a lot from the charging documents and the sheer volume. There's a substantial amount of discovery in this case. It's voluminous, to say the least. Back to Martha Harris. He's talking about the information prosecutors used to charge Robinson with 7 counts, including aggravated murder, which means he potentially faces the death penalty. This is interesting, guys. Whether this goes to the death penalty. which, of course, I would note this is what the Utah state prosecutors are seeking right now. To support their case, prosecutors cited text messages where he appears to confess, DNA evidence, and police interviews with Robinson's family, among other things. Lots of photos and videos from the day of the shooting, and a lot of it submitted by people who were there. Prosecutors will hand all that information over to Robinson's defense team. His attorney, Catherine Nestor, says they're expecting a lot. And here's his lawyer. Until we get our hands around exactly what we're dealing with and how much we need to process, it's going to be difficult to give a reasonable expectation of when we will be able to go to the preliminary. So still very early in the trial process. Big question here, though, and this has been noted in a number of other places. Big question is, will he not only will he get the death penalty in this? Again, reminder, this is Tyler Robinson, the suspect in the Charlie Kirk shooting. Not that long ago, I would note. It might feel like an eon ago. This is October 6th, but really not that long ago. Let's go to, next I want to go to the Dallas ICE shooting. If you'll recall, the White House, the President of the United States, have used both of these to claim that there's an apparent surge in left-wing violence, and they have been the executive branch of the United States government, the President of the United States, the top officials have been calling their political opponents terrorists now for weeks and months, hell, even years, even before they were back in power. It's a little bit different now, though, because they do control the executive branch, and this is very important. As I've noted here, and as I noted immediately in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk, and then immediately after the Dallas ICE shooting not that long ago, it's important for us, being normal, rational people trying to keep things stable, trying to keep things steady, when a lot of very powerful forces would not have it that way. It's important for us to slow down and find out what's going on. Who is the suspect? What do we know? What are the motives behind these? The Dallas Morning News has an answer for us. Byline, Lily Kirsch and Chase Rogers, October 3rd, 2025. Quote, "He was just a normal kid. What led a young man from the Dallas suburbs to attack ICE? Officials say Joshua John shot at the Dallas ICE office from a nearby roof before taking his own life. Those who knew him were shocked." Dateline, Fairview. Just off Country Club Road here, a narrow street without sidewalks, winds past well-kept lawns and brick mailboxes that match the large suburban houses they front. It curls into a quiet cul-de-sac where a two-story house sits partially veiled by tall trees. In recent days, after the crush of federal law enforcement agents and television news crews had cleared, a lone Fairview Police Patrol vehicle was parked out front. It guarded the home of Joshua Chan, the 29-year-old suspect, man suspected of climbing onto a building near an immigration and customs enforcement office in Dallas and opening fire on those below. Authorities have said that three detainees were shot. Two of them, Miguel Angel Garcia Medina, a Mexican citizen living in Arlington, and Norlan Guzman Fuentes of El Salvador, died. So did John, who took his own life. John had set out to target ICE agents, not detainees, officials said, though no law enforcement personnel were injured. Attempts to frame the attack in political terms were swift. President Trump, in a post on his Truth Social media platform, called for an end to violence from, quote, deranged radical leftists, while Vice President J.D. Vance labeled John a, quote, violent left-wing extremist. But people who knew him in the years before the September 24th shooting told the Dallas Morning News he had not been overtly political. The former Boy Scout seemed to have enjoyed video games and marijuana. He was unemployed, had dropped out of college, and worked odd jobs, including at a cannabis farm in Washington. His brother, Noah John, told NBC News that his brother didn't show much interest in politics, nor, he said, did his brother express strong feelings against ICE. Noah John did not respond to phone calls from the news requesting comment. Evidence recovered from John's home and publicized by federal authorities in the hours and days after the shooting paints a different picture. John wrote that he hoped his actions would give ICE agents, quote, real terror, induce stress in their lives, and interfere with their work, which he likened to human trafficking. Nancy Larson, acting U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Texas, said in a news conference. Larson said recovered messages indicated John hated the federal government and did not intend to survive the attack on the Dallas field office, where he, quote, indiscriminately fired at the facility and transport vans. Folks, this is interesting. I want to bring back something we discussed about a week or two ago. This concept of young men online being black-pilled, quote unquote. This nihilism of an online world, which seems to be rooted in both a mixture of irony, depression, and nihilism. This is the black-pilled. I don't have any more reporting on that right now. And I have been hesitant to dive deep on this stuff just because so much else is going on. And I want to make sure that I have it right before I bring it to you. As we say in the news industry, is it set for print? All right. Is this printable? That's the question I ask myself before I bring it on the show here. It's one of the reasons I rely on so many quality news sources. But look up black-pilled. I've been doing a little bit of reading on this. It's not going to be a show this week. We have a great lineup this week already, but this will be something we dig into further. If it is based on some of the initial reporting I've seen around this, if it is what it seems, unfortunately, this will likely not be the last bit of evidence around this. Also, I want to do a very important political violence update. If you look at and folks, I'm sure you probably also already saw this, but let's just update us here. Violence against the judiciary, again, spurred by the White House. Now, is it President Donald Trump doing these things physically? No. But the weight of the words have consequences. So it seems. This is from Time magazine yesterday. House of South Carolina judge criticized by Trump administration burns down. Byline, Miranda J. Nedham. I apologize, Miranda. I'll get it right. Police are here. You know what? Hold on. Let's do it right. I don't like it when people get my name wrong. J. Retnam. That was easy. J. Retnam. I really screwed this up. I apologize, Miranda. Police are investigating the cause of a fire that burned down the home of South Carolina Circuit Court Judge Diane Goodstein, who had reportedly received death threats for weeks related to her work. State law enforcement is investigating the house fire on Edisto Beach, which began at around 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time Saturday, sources told local news. Fitz News, I would note that's first in the South News. Really solid. We've looked to them before for a number of stories. Very good political site too, I would note. Goodstein was reportedly not at home at the time of the fire, but at least 3 members of her family, including her husband, former Democratic State Senator Arnold Goodstein, and their son have been hospitalized with serious injuries. According to the St. Paul's Fire District, which had responded to the scene, the occupants had to be rescued via kayak. Law enforcement has not disclosed whether the fire is being investigated as an arson attack. Quote, at this time, we do not know whether the fire was accidental or arson. Until that determination is made, State Law Enforcement Division Chief Mark Keel has alerted local law enforcement to provide extra patrols and security. South Carolina Chief Justice John Kittredge told Fitz News, adding the fire appeared to have been caused by an explosion, quote unquote. The 69-year-old judge has received death threats in the weeks leading up to the fire, multiple sources told Fitz News, first in the South News. Last month, Goodstein had temporarily blocked the state's election commission from releasing its voter file to the Department of Justice, a decision that was openly criticized by Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon. Longtime Trump loyalist, I would note. Just long-time time Trump world operative. Again, that's not new in this administration. It is new in American history, in recent American history, but not new in the having a political appointment. He's way up at the top making these decisions, and later reversed by the state Supreme Court. The DOJ had sought information, including names, addresses, driver's license numbers, and social security numbers of over 3 million registered voters as part of President Donald Trump's March executive order restricting non-citizens from registering to vote. Non-citizens are already not allowed to vote in federal and state elections. Make sure to look for the link to the stories in the newsletter when it goes out in a little bit. I want to note here, guys, that that this is it's threats against the judiciary have been rising, spurred by the bullhorn, the megaphone, the bully pulpit of the President of the United States. Whether it's a hissy fit, whether it's a direct threat, however you want to characterizing, targeting the third branch of government, an independent, co-equal branch of government, when they make decisions based on the law instead of based on his whims. Now, that's not to say that courts up and down the ranks, from the Supreme Court down to lower state courts, have always sided against Trump, as many folks on the left would tell you. There's a perception that they side with him too much. But this has not stopped the extreme right and the administration from targeting judges. We don't know yet. I want to caution this now. We don't know yet what the cause of this was, or who if there's a suspect. Could have been anything. All right, we don't know yet. We'll keep you updated. But we do know, as Time reported here, we do know there have been many, many, many death threats against South Carolina Judge Goodstein for her refusal to go with the White House and instead follow the law. All right, guys, real quick, before we head out of here, you can catch me every day. Remind me to catch every day here at noon. Coming up on the show tomorrow, we're going to be having Brandon Jarvis, founder of Virginia Scope News. We're doing a big Virginia elections update. I will tell you, I'm shocked by this. I'm shocked at how crazy the Virginia elections have been this year. But I think it's also important to note that it's not crazy, which seems to be driving people. It's really not. It's something else. There's another issue or two or three which are driving voters right now. Voting is underway in the Commonwealth of Virginia right now. Elections are about 1 month out, and there's a debate later this week. Also want to tell you, I'm going to be having on one of the two founders of Ben & Jerry's later this week, Ben Cohen. Very excited to be having him on the show. That'll be going on Thursday. We're going to be talking about where things are with Ben & Jerry's, where things are with the left. I used to cover Bernie Sanders, his campaign back in 2016, and I was watching an interesting interview with Cohen and Hassan Piker as I was getting ready for the interview this week. And he made a really Cohen. It's funny. I'm laughing because it's true. He said Bernie's been saying the same thing for decades, and that if you ask Sanders what would make a change, he said, Sanders' retort is typically, well, when we get justice, then I'll start saying something different. So I'm very, very much looking forward to talking with Ben Cohen this week. That's going to be a fun one and an important one, I would note too. All right, guys. Before we head out, I want to hear from Jane Goodall. This is really fascinating. I'm always surprised by things, not always like bad things, not necessarily good things, but like really stunning. Listen to this. This is literally, we just lost Jane Goodall. So this is, from beyond the grave, so to say. Let's go to here.
That you don't like?
Absolutely, there are people I don't like. And I would like to put them on one of Musk's spaceships and send them all off to the planet he's sure he's going to discover.
Would he be one of them?
Oh, absolutely. He'd be the host. And you can imagine who I'd put on that spaceship.
Who?
Along with Musk would be Trump and some of Trump's real supporters. And then I would put Putin in there. And I would put President Xi. I'd certainly put Netanyahu in there and his far-right government. Put them all on that spaceship and send them off. In the place where I am now, I look back over my life. I look back at the world I've left behind. What message do I want to leave? I want to make sure that you all understand that each and every one of you has a role to play. You may not know it, you may not find it, but your life matters, and you are here for a reason. And I just hope that that reason will become apparent as you live through your life. I want you to know that whether or not you find that role that you're supposed to play, your life does matter, and that every single day you live, you make a difference in the world. And you get to choose the difference that you make. I want you to understand that we are part of the natural world. And even today, where the planet is dark, there still is hope. Don't lose hope. If you lose hope, you become apathetic and do nothing. Above all, I want you to think about the fact that we are part, when we're on planet Earth, we are part of Mother Nature. We depend on Mother Nature for clean air, for water, for food, for clothing, for everything. And as we destroy one ecosystem after another, as we create worse climate change, worse loss of diversity, we have to do everything in our power to make the world a better place for the children alive today and for those that will follow. You have it in your power to make a difference.
All right, guys, let's start the week right. Very powerful words there from Jane Goodall. Thank you for being here, guys. I want to thank everybody for showing up every day. Really appreciate this. Folks, look, make sure to head over to 24site.news. Sign up, get the newsletter. If you got questions for me, anybody you'd like to see on the show, anything you'd like to see covered, just send me an email, tom@24site.news. I want to send a big thanks to our sponsors. All right. As I continue building this here, I can't do it without you. All right, guys. This is a labor of love. It is a labor of American freedom. I'll get to that in a second. I want to say a big thanks to our sponsors. All right. First off, Beth Solomon over at she's the author of From Fire to Fabulous. She wrote this book about a year ago. It is a handbook, a guide, a manual for what to do if you get doged. And unfortunately, there's been plenty of that. I'll tell you that I was at her book launch about a year ago, and I don't think any of us could have foreseen exactly what Trump and Elon Musk would do to all the workers here. And potentially might do. I would note as we continue in this federal government shutdown. So Beth used to work for Sam Nunn, longtime Democratic Senator Sam Nunn, moved up to the C-suite and has been fired herself. It happens to the best of us. Hell, I've been fired a number of times. All right. This is not abnormal. And the idea here, something that Beth outlines, is that once you pick yourself up, all right, once you dust off, how do you go about either getting back on your career path, getting back into a regular 9-to-5 job, whatever that is these days, or maybe even building something your own, like I'm doing right here at 24site.news. Whatever it is, your path, Beth has you covered at From Fired to Fabulous. All right, make sure to check that out. Also want to say big thanks to Manoj Polson over at projectmanagemymove.com. Manoj works on these things. They're called distress sales. And if you're not in real estate, you might not know about this. It's, something terrible happens in your life, death, divorce, you name it. You got a lot going on. All right. And you got to deal with that. Sometimes there's a rush to put the house on the market. And if you sell it too soon and it's not in nice enough shape, you're not going to get the total value you need. So this is where Manoj comes in. Manoj, Project Manage My Move. He coordinates the contractors. He brings in the people. They'll do all the basics, just basic fix-up work, painting, you name it. Make the place look nice. Even some, your bigger home improvements to get the value of the property up, potentially earning you tens of thousands of dollars more that you rightly deserve on this property. So go over to projectmanagemymove.com. Tell Manoj I sent you. Check them out. Big thanks, Beth and Manoj, for supporting independent journalism. All right, guys, I want to thank you. It is a pleasure to be here with you. It is a privilege to be here with you. But above all, it is our right. It is our First Amendment right. It is our most basic human freedom. And I am honored to exercise that with you every day.